Thomas Davis said, and I think it's true, he said, I don't care who writes my country's history as long as I can write her songs. You know? And he wrote the great songs and the songs that inspired the next crowd.
Well, this is the book launch. It won't be a book launch as you know it or as I know it, but however it will be a book launch because we've asked the two people involved with the book launch, that's the editor, Terry Moylan, and Donal Lunny, Frank's great friend and collaborator, to record some messages for us. This is the book, as you know. It's a living voice, the Frank Harte Song Collection, and you can get it by emailing craft.dublin@gmail.com, and then we'll send one to you, provided you send the money, of course. But anyway, so here's a message from Terry Moylan and a message from Donal Lunny. Thanks very much, and buy the book.
20, 18, 16, 14, 12 and 8, 6, 4, 2.
Well, shortly before Frank's death in 2005, I visited him and we had a lovely evening, in the course of which he mentioned his desire to see all his CD booklets knocked into one single collection which would contain all his songs, all the notes on his songs, the illustrations that he had chosen and so on. And I offered to do anything I could to bring that to pass. In the years since his death, we've tipped away at that and liaised with his family, and the result is there now, a 400-page book containing all the songs from his released recordings, the notes that he researched for them, along with songs that he didn't release commercially but we found on various sources like the ITMA website or YouTube or various television programs, and everybody connected with those sources was very, very generous in making them available to us. So between one thing and another, there's approximately 200 songs in the book, along with a few poems, illustrations, and I had a great compliment paid to me recently. A singer who knew Frank Harte very well told me that she thought that Frank would have loved it.
Hello everybody, I'm delighted to be involved in the Frank Harte Festival this year. I'm here for the book, A Living Voice, and I think it's a brilliant book. I love it, I love everything about it. Anyway, I met Frank back in the early 60s, maybe for the first time in a folk club or possibly in a pub or at a session, and maybe at a few of the flats around the country at that time. Anyway, got to know him gradually, but didn't really get to know him until we recorded together later. In the mid-70s we recorded 2 albums for Mulligan. Well, one in the mid-70s and one in the late 80s, and they were And Listen to My Song and Daybreak and A Candle's End. And I realised that Frank was an artist in the academic or aesthetic sense. He was a practicing architect, and he exercised his taste, his sense of proportion, his spatial awareness and so on in that field, but he also applied other criteria to singing songs and collecting them. He had a sense of integrity and authenticity. He was proud of not being a professional singer or collector. As far as he was concerned, he gathered songs and sang them because it gave him pleasure. Gathering songs and singing them was a labour of love, which he performed entirely for its own sake. He didn't exactly look down on professional or commercial singers who were paid for their performance, but he was adamant or even a bit defiant about not being a professional singer. To him, it meant he was his own boss and couldn't be bought. Frank started his series of themed albums with The First Year of Liberty, from which I learned more about the 1798 rebellion than I'd ever known before. And I realised that with his choice of songs, he was presenting another view of history, the lived experience of those times, much closer to the reality of the times than the dry facts in history books. I remember well Frank's anguish of having to decide what songs to record on his album My Name is Napoleon Bonaparte, he had 80 songs no less, and very reluctantly reduced that number to 30. Given that a CD would take at most 16 songs, it was inevitable that it would be a double album. But after all that, he threw in a comic street song. He made room for a comic street song, My Son Tim, which made no reference to Napoleon, but which helped to fill in the historical landscape which Frank was assembling. And on his famine CD, The Hungry Voice, he included a very tender, reflective rendition of The City of Chicago, Luca Bloom's contemporary song, which also helped to colour in the human angle on that awful period. Anyway, Frank was a man of taste, and I'd say he'd love this book. Personally, I think it's the handsomest tome I've seen in a long time. The layout is very attractive, and it maintains the use of woodcuts and illustrations reminiscent of Colm O'Loughlin's Irish Street Ballads, published in the 60s. And I was delighted to find a section in the book entitled Songs and Poems of Tribute, written in praise of Frank, and they are a measure of the esteem in which he was and is held. This book is a credit to everyone involved in its production, in particular Terry Moylan, who has succeeded in putting together a definitive volume which does justice to the man who inspired it. I take it as a great honour to have the privilege of launching this book. I heartily commend it. Thank you.
Bhacarja is for Cage Fáilte, Kigun Kjol Cullen Moore, Dun Éile Frank Harte, Gavila is a fitte. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the grand concert of the 2020 Frank Harte Festival. Tonight will be somewhat of a surreal experience for us in that we won't be live in the Teachers Club as usual. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our concert tonight has been pre-recorded and is being premiered on the Frank Harte Festival YouTube channel and on the Goaling Facebook page. It's also being carried on the ITMA YouTube channel and their Facebook page. These are indeed strange times that we're living in, and who knows what the future holds for us. All we can hope is that a vaccine will be developed soon, and we can get back to meeting and interacting with each other in the normal way. I have to say thanks to a lot of people. First, to all who've helped in any way to put tonight's concert together. The artists who've been absolutely superb in recording their various spots and getting them to us on time. I'd also like to thank my fellow Frank Harte Festival project team members for all their great work in pulling the festival together in very trying times and conditions. But mostly, I'd like to pay a tribute to Liam O'Connor and his fantastic crew in the Irish Traditional Music Archive for their support and their sterling contribution to getting all of the premieres together. Without them, this would never have happened. Every year in the Frank Harte Festival, we feature a group who feature singing in their performance, and this year is no exception. Our group this year are Brian O'Leary and the Slopes of Sliabh Luachra. The members of the group are Brian O'Leary on accordion. He's a grandson of the great accordion player Johnny O'Leary. Maura O'Connor on concertina, Brian Mooney on bouzouki, Emma O'Leary on fiddle, and Eileen Broderick on vocals. They're all from the world famous Rushy Mountain area of East Kerry, North Cork, West Limerick, and their wonderful music truly reflects the traditions that have been passed on to them by previous generations. So please welcome Brian O'Leary and the Slopes of Sliabh Luachra.
We're delighted to be asked to play here tonight as part of the Frank Harte Festival. I had the good fortune to hear Frank Harte sing live on one occasion in the University of Limerick as part of the Gradam Ceol back in 2003, and he was given the Singer of the Year award that night, and my own grandfather Johnny O'Leary was given the Lifetime Achievement Award that night. They were great friends, so it's a great privilege to be asked to play here tonight as part of a festival that honours the great man that was Frank Harte. So we're going to start off with 3 Sliabh Luachra slides. The first slide is a tune we would have heard played by a great fiddle duet of Dan Jeremiah O'Connor from Scartaglin and Ned O'Connor from Mullen in Cordal. The first slide is called Mrs. O'Connor, and she was a concertina player from Knockatee, Cordal, The second tune we'll follow up is called Jim Keefe's, and this particular version of the tune comes from the playing of Johnny O'Leary. And the final slide again comes from that duet of Danger O'Connor and Ned Connor, and it's called My Love in the Morning. So next we're going to continue on with a Walls and Two Polkas. I was delighted to have been commissioned by Harte, the Rolling Wave, and Eibhlís to write a piece of music during the pandemic, along with 9 other traditional composers. The waltz I wrote is called I'll Meet You on a Day That Never Ends, and it's a tribute to all those that lost their lives throughout the pandemic, and also the frontline workers who worked so hard on saving so many lives. Then the two polkas I wrote after a neighbouring townland, Ballyconan. It's called the Ballyconan Butterfly, and my own townland, Turincahill, and it's called Tranquility in Turincahill. And this initiative was also greatly supported by the ITMA and Liam O'Connor, who are going to be doing full transcriptions on all the pieces of music that were composed. So we'll get these go next. Next up, we're going to invite a fantastic singer from Abbeyfield, County Limerick, Eileen Broderick, to sing a song.
So the first song I'm going to sing for you tonight is called Ballyconan Affair. Two brothers both called Pat and Mick, who lived near Derrylin. They had a darling springing cow that they called Mary Jane. But hay was scarce and cash was scarce, and both their suits threadbare. And Mary Jane, she had to go to Ballyconan Affair. Now the morning of the fair arrived with shocking fog and mist. Came rowling down the hills of Doon, you couldn't see or fished. Says Pat to Mick, I'll walk in front and you bring up the rear. And with Mary Jane between us both to Ballyconan Affair. Now at Gartery, our Mary Jane, she played an awful trick. She slipped into a side road there unknown to Pat and Mick. She ate her feet from Drum's haystack and then she made her lair, while Pat and Mick they welted on to Ballyconan Affair. Well, they reached a green at half-past 8, approaching to daylight. The fog had lifted all at once, the drovers hove in sight. Says Pat to Mick, where's Mary Jane? I can't see her nowhere. By the holy smoke, 'twas me you drove to Ballyconan Affair. Well, boatmen's dead, God rest their souls, but still the story's told. Around the fires of Derrylin, enjoyed by young and old. And children ask when going to bed and dashing up the stairs. Was it Pat drove Mick or Mick drove Pat to Ballyconan Affair?
Okay, we're going to finish off the first half now with a set of reels. The first two we learned from the playing of Jackie Daly and Seamus Cray, and they are called the Macroom Lasses and the Ramber in Cork, and then the final one is another favourite of Jackie's called the Bog Carrot. So hope you enjoy and we'll see you after the break.
was absolutely fantastic music from Brian O'Leary on the slopes of Sliabh, Luachra, and we'll be hearing from them later on again in the concert. Our first solo guest tonight is a Goleen singer, and we always, in the Frank Harte Festival, feature a Goleen singer, and this year is the great Dave O'Connor. Dave is a singer, musician, dancer and mummer from Ballyconan in the heart of rural Fingal, and that's barely 20 kilometres from the GPO in Dublin. He has been actively involved in keeping the rural traditions in his area alive. Heavily influenced by Tom Munley and Goleen singers who helped him realise the wealth of tradition that is in his own area, Dave led the workshop this morning, and his presentation on singers, songs and singing styles, entitled From the Liffey to the Bryan, was fascinating and displayed his great knowledge of the subject. So can you please give a great big welcome to Dave O'Connor.
Good evening everybody, and I'm delighted to be asked to sing here at this concert tonight, and I hope you all enjoy what I'm going to do. I come from a part of rural North County Dublin that's now called Fingal, and a big entertainment for us in that rural area for many years has been horse racing and hunting. The four courses that served that area would have been the Phoenix Park, which is now gone, Fairy House, Laytown on the Strand, and Bellewstown races. There's a lot of lovely stuff written about Bellewstown races. It's a very historic meeting, goes back a long way. And this is a short poem that explains what goes on there. The bookies on stools enticing the fools to stake their few shillings down. The shouting and din every horse sure must win on the hill of Bellewstown. And I'm going to sing this song, and nothing has changed. It's still the same whenever the races are held there. You sporting sons of Erin that are always fond of merriment, draw near unto these lines and I'll not detain you long. I pray you'll pay attention, just try the experiment, then give a true opinion of my funny comic song. 'Tis of a pleasant pastime that happens in the month of June, when lambkins they are bleating beside each purling rill, and the blackbird, lark and nightingale do all unite in joyful tune, to add lustre to the jovial mirth on Bellewstown hill. 'Tis early in the morning when Sol displays his golden beams, while Flora spreads her mantle all o'er the flowery plain. The quality of each degree, likewise the hearty peasantry, they flock from town and country real pleasures to obtain. To Bellewstown of high renown, to see those racers running round, the vocal trumpet sweetly sounds to make the crowds be still. The course to clear is the cry you'll hear, no discontent must here appear. There are cattle fleeing now like deer round Bellewstown hill. When the first heat is over, into the tents the youths repair, to treat their loving sweethearts and with spirits there to cheer. The maidens being complacent, they speak with minds then so sincere, but their senses they get fuddled from the brandy, ale and beer. When the merry piper tunes is drawn, to shake a leg they all agree, and to display their neatest steps they use their art and the skill, and the country chaps cry, well done Pat, hurrah for Kitty's dandy cap. Sure Europe can find no such spot as a Bellewstown hill. Now having got themselves into a broil, for to take a walk they all retreat, and to partake of comfort then they roam the boundless plain. The dancing it being warm work, it causes them to perspirate, so they seek for gentle breezes till the platers come again. And as they slowly walk along, to view the giddy simple throng, composed of persons, short and long, it makes them laugh their fill. The blind, the maimed, the mad and the tame, the broken back, the palsied frame, the bleary-eyed clown and toothless dame on Bellewstown Hill. Now Captain Whisky played a trick upon a simple country youth. He being intoxicated, then he gave a mighty ball, and like a true Hibernian, he manfully did tell the truth, saying, my name is Paddy Unan, I was born near the Knoll. Come show to me then any man that dare offend me where I stand, I'll make him feel my weighty hand right sore against his will. I will make him surely mind the ear, I place me cudgels round his ear, his bloodshot eyes bedewed with tears on Bellewstown Hill. Pat had scarcely closed his speech when, to his mighty great surprise, a chap called Ned Stalranky, he stepped up to him and said, you simple whelp, I cannot help, and now must blacken both your eyes. I will make you learn to be wise, you crusty, nasty blade. I will let you know, you saucy clown, I was bred and born near Garristown. So now prepare to box around, exert your strength and the skill. Oh, come on, says Pat, you foolish brat. Says Ned, I'll have none of your chat. But here's a tip now, answer that, in Bellewstown Hill. Now Pat, being in a passion, he struck bold Ned upon the nose. The blood it flew in torrents from his smeller to the ground. But Ned, you'll hear, being void of fear, struck bold Pat under the ear. These sons of Mars, as it appears, together did fall down. The bugles they did sound again, to call the coursers to the plain. So Pat and Ned they did disdain, to wish each other ill. So all their hands did shake, and friends did make, and every one their way did take, to view Lady of the Lake going foremost round the hill. Now the races they being over, and every one returned home, unless them that have broke a bone and suffered sudden death. And they talk about the fun and glee they've seen in every company. Being highly pleased, they all agree it was matchless upon earth. But scarce 9 days have passed and gone, there's not a word about the fun. So now I will conclude my song, say of it what you will. If it pleased you well, the truth then tell, I do not mean on it to dwell. So now, my friends, I will bid farewell to Bellewstown Hill. Thank you. That song, we think, was written by John Shield, a great poet from the Drogheda area, and Jerry Cullen and others were working on a lot of that stuff as a project. The second song I'm going to sing was written by a man from Julianstown, which is between Balbriggan and Drogheda, a man called Thomas O'Brien of Elmgrove. He was a prolific writer of letters to the papers and poems, and was heavily involved in the Gaelic League at the end of the 19th century. And it's a song called In Praise of Gladstone. So there are different times for you. And it's called The Gladstone Gales of Balbriggan Town, and it's in the key of C. With the joy and the pleasure in the fullest measure, I will sing in praise of the Gladstone Gales. Just now preparing, as athletes a-daring, to bear their flag o'er Fingallion vales. No bogus leaguers, nor vile intriguers, are these but true men who would lay down There lies for Ireland, on hill or moorland, the valiant Gaels of Balbriggan town. On hill, in the valley, by lane and alley, in olden times it was oft proclaimed, their fathers are glorious, were oft victorious at wrestling matches and football games. In actions ever, her sailors clever, her hardy fishermen and toilers brown, by land and ocean with brave devotion, upheld the fame of Balbriggan town. In battles olden, were garlands of golden, full often worn by their fathers round, and even later in actions a greater, 10,000 miles o'er the heaving wave, when gallant Keating, all foes defeating, has won great glory and more renown. For those defiant, bold, self-reliant, devoted Gaels of Balbriggan town. These Gaels, they inherit the Spartan spirit of the gallows lasses and the Fenians bold, who at Kincara and Royal Tara played games athletic in days of old. And should our old land e'er need a bold band to wave the green flag where cannon frown, in van of battle you'd soon hear rattle the Gaelic drums of Balbriggan town. So boys, get ready, march onward steady, fly high your flag o'er Fingallion's vales, swing up the leather and all together, hip hip hurrah for the home rule Gaels. Long, long your glory will be famed in story, from our close banks to the hill of Down. Those daring dashers, those sterling slashers, the Gaelic men of Balbriggan town. Now, the last song I'm going to sing is one that was written by the great statesman Arthur Griffith. And it's Griffith used to go in and out to Holt and other different places. He was a great raconteur and writer, and despite all the heavy stuff that he had to do through his life, his relief was found in writing poems, slagging people off, etc., etc. And this is one called The Primal Light, and I just put an air to it myself, and it's in the key of A. Some of you will have heard this song before. As on for contemplation and meditation, for recreation at evening's close, I wandered gaily down by the Bailey, where night and daily the water she flows. Old Sol was resplendent and in the ascendant, and shed as transcendent effulgent rays. I mused and I pondered as I idly wandered, the lights that were squandered in the primal days. Now I heard a noise and I raised my eyes. May I be poisoned, but I saw a sight whose awful wonder took my legs from under and broke asunder my powers of flight. It was no grim gnome or wild spectral roamer, but ancient Homer upon my oath, that took a notion to leave the ocean, and with agile motion then popped on to Holt. He wore that morning no jewels adorning his barber scorning dark locks of hair, nor raiment shining with golden lining, or gems entwining through everywhere. nor nice and cosy, no shoes with bows he wore on his toes, well he just let them sprawl. Oh, let truth it be spoken, though gently broken, divil the token that he wore at all. Are you, says he, sir, the great Julius Caesar, or Nebuchadnezzar, the bastely king, or Mars, or Nero, or the bold Cicero, a beauteous hero, or anything? Pan, Venus, Bacchus, or Herodias, Gracchus, Caius, Gracchus, or Diana so chaste, or wise Ulysses, says I, Lord bless us, please stop your guesses, no, not in the least. I am not Venus, and the heavens between us, I am no queen as I am a man, nor am I Martha from ancient Sparta, Magna Carta or Isapayan. But I am yours truly, well he looked at me cruelly, up on his haunches gave me such a fright, well he groaned and he vanished, forever banished, and so ends my song of the Primal Light. Thank you.
Our next guest is Jennifer Orr, and Jennifer comes from the Ards Peninsula in County Down, and we always love having somebody from the north down here. We just love the way they sing and the way they enjoy themselves. Jennifer became very involved in festival style Irish dancing as a young child, and a love and interest of traditional singing that she would occasionally hear at some gatherings grew. When she stopped competing in the dancing, she started to seek out traditional singers and songs, particularly in her own local sessions, singing and playing the fiddle, and also attending the Belfast Singing Circle. She's been widely recorded for Radio Ulster singing songs of the County Down with Jackie Boyce in 2017, and was featured in the Radio Ulster programme Songs of Ulster with Marty Cullen. In 2018, she was involved with the Robert Cinnamon project with Roisin White, which is where we first heard her wonderful singing. She loves listening to and learning from older singers and values individual styles. We're delighted to have Jennifer as a guest at the 2020 Frank Harte Festival, singing to us from her barn in the Ards Peninsula. Can you please welcome Jennifer Orr?
Come all ye loyal lovers, wherever you may be, I hope you'll pay attention and listen unto me. I am a poor unhappy girl, disturbed all in my mind, for the parting of my own true love, no comfort I can find. My love, he is a nice young man, he's aged about 18. He is the finest young man that e'er my eyes have seen. He's proper tall, genteel withal, has no diluting tongue, but his modest, mild behaviour coaxed me when I was young. I kept my true love's company for better than 3 years. I own I loved him truly, and he said he loved me dear. But now he's gone and left me, and alas, I know not where. He has gone to serve his majesty aboard a man o' war. 'Twas late last night my love came here, a mournful tale to tell to my sisters and my brothers, for to take the last farewell. To me he filled the she said, than part my heart's delight. 3 bunches of black ribbons, 3 bunches I'll put on, 3 bunches of black ribbons to mourn while he is gone. And if I cannot find him, I will mourn right constantly. All for his sake I'll passage take across the stormy sea. Oh, Mary, lovely Mary, leave off your sore lament. There's men enough in Ireland to with your discontent. There's men enough in Ireland, alas, there's none for I. All for his sake I'll passage take, and may it deliver die.
Singing from Jennifer there, just to explain about the song. The first song was a variation of the Lowlands of Holland, and she first heard Jackie Boyce sing it as a session, and she decided to learn it herself during the lockdown period. Her second song now is a song called Michael Murphy, and she heard it on Donal McGuire's collection of songs about the life and times of Michael Davitt, the Land League reformer.
My name is Michael Murphy from the county of Tyrone. I've left me poor old mother there in Ireland all alone. Our landlord has a stony heart which never will relent. So I've come here to Lancashire to try to raise the rent. I said goodbye to sweet Kathleen Cush na Gramacree, and with me bundle on me back I crossed the ridge and sea to cut your hay or reap your corn. I tumble to your town. Who will employ an Irish boy to cut the harvest down? And when we landed in Liverpool, imagine my surprise to see the wagon loads of food enough to reach the skies. I thought about my native home and heaved a mighty groan. Sure, the English people take the meat and fling per pat the bone. If Ireland could but get her own, how happy we would be. And think upon the English boys as brothers o'er the sea, then treat poor Pat no longer like a electioneer until, but help along old Gladstone with a measure of home rule. My brother Barney went away many years ago to fight among the English boys with Britain weal or woe. Poor boy, he shed his Irish blood away in foreign lands and left his bones to bleach upon the burning desert sands. Sometimes I long to follow him, and would if I were free, and visit those great cities in the lands across mother dear, to sob and sigh alone. But raise the rent and hurry back to her and old Tyrone. It been in the month of July, in the rosy time of the year, down by on flowery meadows where the waters does run clear. The lambs and little fishes, they do merrily sport and play, and all the lads and lasses, they go tumbling through the hay. Well, laddle-dee-da it all the day, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da it all the day. Then up comes lovely Johnny with his pitchfork and his rake, and up comes lovely Molly the hay then for to make. They timed their notes so merrily as the nightingale did sing. From morning until evening they were at their haymaking. Well, laddle-dee-da it all the day, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da it all the day. Then up come the mowers the hay for to cut down, with their scythes upon their shoulders and their hair in lovely brine. And up come the labourers the hay for to rake out, and when they had it all cut down they tossed it all about. Well, laddle-dee-da it all the day, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da it all the day. It was coming close till Saturday, and all would get their pay, and all these jolly Haymakers were feeling blithe and gay. The number of these Haymakers, as near as I can say, was 25 boys and girls tumbling through the hay. Well, laddle-dee-da it all the day, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da it all the day. When 9 short months was over, and all was past and gone, there was 25 boys and girls making their sad moan. Ah, hush-a-ba-ba-ba-bee, these fair maids they did say, and many's the time they wished that they'd ne'er tossed among the hay. Well, laddle-dee-da it all the day, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da, laddle-dee-da it all the day.
Very appropriate, Jennifer, singing about tumbling in the hay and sitting on bales of straw in her farm in the Irish Peninsula. Her fourth song is Willie's Gone Aboard a Tender, and it's Robert Cinnamon's version, which she learned for the Robert Cinnamon project I mentioned earlier on in 2018. Thanks very much, Jennifer.
My love's gone on board of a tender, where to find him I don't know. But may kind Providence protect him and send me back my Willie-o. As Mary lay sleeping, her love came a-creeping to her bedchamber door so slow, saying, rise up, lovely Mary, weep no more for your Willie-o. Mary arose, put on her clothing, to her bedchamber door did go, and 'twas there she found her true love, Willie, and his cheeks were as white as snow. Willie dear, where are the blushes that you had some years ago? Oh, Mary dear, 'tis death has changed them, for I'm the ghost 7 long years that I have been writing to the Bay of Biscay, oh, but cruel death brought me no answer from my own true love, Willio. They spent some time in conversation concerning their courtship of years ago, and then they kissed, they shook hands, and parted as the cocks they began to crow. When she saw him disappearing, down her face the tears did flow. He said, Mary dear, sweetheart, and darling, weep no more for your Willio.
That was absolutely wonderful singing from Jennifer. I just love the Ulster style. Our final guest before the break is our own Siobhan Harte. Siobhan has appeared as a guest with the famous Dublin folk group Lankum and with her grandfather's longtime friend and collaborator Donal Lunny. She is the daughter of Orla and a granddaughter of Frank. She first sang at the festival as a 5-year-old in 2012 on the now world famous Singing and Walking tour. Since then she has continued to assimilate and sing her grandfather's songs and to mature as a singer. We're delighted to have her with us once again to do a spot on the grand concert, and you will be able to hear her again on the virtual Singing and Walking tour, which will be premiered tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Siobhan Harte, Frank's granddaughter, is with me here, and you first sang. When did you first sing at the Frank Harte Festival, Siobhan?
I was 5 years old and it was on Grafton Street and I was singing on the Molly Malone statue.
And what song did you sing on the Molly Malone statue?
Molly Malone.
That's amazing. So you're going to sing for us now, Siobhan. It's lovely to see you and it's lovely to have you here. What songs are you going to sing for us this evening?
This evening I'm going to sing for you The Maid of Cabra West and Daffodil Mulligan.
That's fantastic. Looking forward to it. So now, here we go. Siobhan Harte is going to sing The Maid from Cabra West and Daffodil Mulligan. Thanks very much.
I fell in love with the fair young maid that in Cabra West did reside. Myself I lived in Donnybrook, it's a 1 and a 5-penny ride. Well, there was a fly in the ointment now that you very seldom see. For although I loved her terrible well, she was in love with the Portuguese. Now he was a nasty piece of work, Rosales was his name, and he couldn't wait to get his hands on Concepta, who was me dame. So I made a vow by the Grand Canal that I would do him in, and I didn't like those Portuguese, and in particular I didn't like him. So I followed him up to Grafton Street one evening just for fun, and round by the Mercer's Hospital inside the Bartley Dun. They were sitting there in the corner seat, they were kissing and holding hands, and there he was seducing her with pints of baby sham. So I followed him up to his lodgings in Rathgar or thereabouts, and round by the side of an alleyway, sure I battered him inside out. He gave out many's and notes and swears, till he was dead I'm sure, and I lifted up the manhole lid, and I dropped him down the sewer. Now when the much she heard of this, she made me life a hell, and all for the sake of peace and quiet, sure I did her in as well. And now I'm up before the judge to answer for me crimes. He said I didn't mind the first one, son, but not the second time. So it was all for that love of that fair young maid and her Portuguese sailor boy. For the passionate love of that fair young maid, I've landed in Mountjoy. And if ever I get out again, me life I'll change, you'll see. Sure, I'll marry with the mod from Watkins Town, who wouldn't look at a Portuguese. I'm Daffodil Mulligan, Biddy's young girl, and the fellas all say I'm a peach and a pearl. I was born at the daffodil time of the year, so they just call me Daffy. Now maybe that's queer, for I'm sweet daffodil mulligan. I am, all me ancestors come from the Coombe, and I'm just such another spit of me mother, the lady that lives in one room down on Francis Street. Sweet daffodil mulligan, fresh fish like sweet blarney roses that bloom. I am Brightail and Harte, the life of the party. I'm Daffy, the belle of the Coombe. Fresh fish, we live in Pinewood Forest, so shady and dim, that I first met me Jemmy, so tall and so slim. It was on an excursion, the girls all look swell, but I took the biscuit and Jem's heart as well. For I'm sweet daffodil mulligan. I am, all me ancestors come from the Coombe, and I'm just such another, the spit of me mother, the lady that lives in one room down on Francis Street. Sweet daffodil mulligan, fresh fish like a sweet blarney roses that bloom. I am Brightail and Harte, the life of the party. I'm Daffy, the belle of the Coombe. Fresh fish, we were married in August when Jem went on strike, so he took me to Bray on the back of his bike. Now the strike is all over and Jem, bless his soul, I settled down steadily, drawing the dough. For I'm sweet daffodil mulligan. I am, all me ancestors come from the Coombe, and I'm just such another, the spit of me mother, the lady that lives in one room down on Francis Street. Sweet daffodil mulligan, fresh fish like sweet blarney roses that bloom. I am Brightail and Harte, the life of the party. I'm Daffy, the belle of the Coombe. Fresh fish.
There was a lord lived in this town, who had a lovely handsome daughter. She was courted by a fair young lad, who was a servant to her father. But when her parents came to know, they swore they would send him from the island. Oh, this maid, she knew her heart would break if she to part with young Matt Hyland. Oh, the Lord discoursed his young wife fair one night alone in her bedchamber, saying, Matt Hyland, I will send afar. I fear my daughter stands in danger. The maid, she overheard these words, as on her bed she lay reclining, saying, I will my father him deceive, and so protect my own Matt Highland. Straight away unto her love she goes, into his room him to awaken, saying, arise, my love, and go away. This very night you will be taken. I overheard my father say that from the island he would transport you. So arise, my love, and go away. I wish to God I'd gone before you. They both sat down upon the bed, just for the sake of 1/2 hour, and not one word did either spake, but down her cheeks the tears did pour. She laid her head upon his breast, and round his neck her arms entwined, saying, no duke nor lord nor earl I'll wend, I'll wait for you, my own Matt Highland. Oh, must I go, my love, he sends, oh, must I go without my wages, without a penny in my purse, just like some poor forlorn stranger? Here's 50 guineas in bright gold, and that's far more than my father owes you. So take it now and go away. You know right well I do adore you. 'Tis then these lovers severed were, that he might elude transportation. Since he was gone, perhaps for e'er, her sad heart knew no consolation. As days passed by, she then began to roam the groves, alone and slighted, and in her grief she cried aloud, send back, my own Matt Highland. Oh, the Lord discoursed his daughter fair, one night alone as she lay repining, saying, I'll give you leave to bring him back, since there's no one you style above him. She wrote a letter then in haste, for him her heart it was still repining. They brought him back To the church they went, and they made a lord of young Matt Hyland.
Welcome back. Hope you all enjoyed whatever libation you had. And without any beating about the bush, can you please welcome back Bryan O'Leary and the slopes of Sliabh Luachra.
Right, we're going to start proceedings off now in the second half with two Sliabh Luachra jigs. I would associate these two jigs with the great duet playing of Julia Clifford and her son Billy Clifford. The first tune is called the Cordal Jig and the second jig is called the Cullen.
continue with three local compositions. The first one is a hornpipe composed by P.J. Tehan. It's called The Trip to Kilmurray. Then we will play two reels. The first reel is The Road to Castleisland, and that's composed by my music teacher, Nicky McAuliffe. And then we'll finish with a reel called The Heights of Mingvata, which is composed by Tom Fleming, a local Castleisland accordion player.
So now we're going to welcome Eileen Broderick back on stage to sing a song for you.
So this song is an Appalachian song called Fair and Tender Ladies, and I hope you enjoy. Come all you fair and tender ladies, take warning how you court your men. They're like a star on a summer's morning. They'll first appear and then they're gone. They'll tell to you some flattering story and then declare that they love you well, and then they'll go and court some other and leave you here in grief to dwell. I wish I was a little sparrow and one of those that could fly so high. I'd fly me home to my true love's dwelling, and when he'd speak, I'd be close by. If I'd have known before I courted that love could be so hard to win, I'd have locked my heart with keys of golden and burned it down with a silver pen. Oh, love is great and love is charming and love is pure when first it's new. Ah, but love grows older and love grows colder and it fades away like the morning dew. So come all you fair and tender ladies, take warning how you court your men. They're like a star on a summer's morning. They'll first appear and then they're gone.
We're going to continue on now with three more Sliabh polkas. The first polka was actually a great favourite of Paddy Jones, a great Sliabh fiddle player who sadly passed away back in June. So we'll dedicate this set to Paddy. The second and third polkas are again from the repertoire of the Scartaglen fiddle player Dan Jeremiah O'Connor.
Thank you.
No, so we've come to the end of our piece. Just before I finish, I'd like to sincerely thank the great gentleman that is Jerry O'Reilly and all involved in the Frank Harte Festival for inviting us to play for you tonight. And also everyone involved in the ITMA, Liam O'Connor and co, who I know have put a lot of work in behind the scenes to make this possible. So we're going to finish up with a great favourite of ours, 3 slides, the Brusna slides. So thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed our set.
Wonderful music from Bryan on the slopes of Sliabh, Luachra. We really enjoyed that. I love polkas and slides. Rosie and I just love dancing around the kitchen to polkas and slides. So, our next guest is Eibhlís ní Ríordáin. I was costing she ngailing agus a merla. Eibhlís is a singer, musician, composer and music educator as Ballyconan Affair a Cundy Corky. She sings and researches the Shannon song repertoire of the Daisha East Munster area. She has won Karan, Donal at the Oireachtas in 2016 and the Leinster Fleadhcheoil twice in 2017 and 2018 and was also a prize winner at both years' Fleadhcheoil na hÉireann. In November 2018 she won third prize in Commartas Cole Nan Fágin at Féile na Mí in Rathcairn in Cundy na Mí. Singers who have influenced her are Nicholas Tobin, Laura Sokaila, Anya Ichali and Karan Galvan. Martin, could you give fáilte mór with Eibhlís ní Ríordáin?
So my first song this evening is Fanny Power by Turla Carolyn, and this is actually the type of harp that Carolyn himself would have played. This is modelled on an 18th century early Irish harp, which is wire strung. The tradition of these harps went from at least the 11th century right up to the end of the 18th century. This is my setting of Fanny Power, the music I've taken from the Bunting manuscripts, and the words. I'd like to thank Eamon O'Broha for Unlagan Seo Donna Focal. So Fanny Power. Is mian young troch der ook nie hork, is oisle gjalulig nie is kar. De wiesen san male koen lochriech, am buich gar kasset me laivle. Is ox is treach an veiren hesko vampe, grokring a heren perle deskel vampe, olige trens na dielige valley, va hoeren fanny min tavi. Shudi an alof Eibhlís has luite fallen edagra, she fanny as janul nis nanul for bogum minikle heile. Naragum en selsagum mimega kensach, dausag a herach is medavamische, Bogri montation ediruch in spraylat, a fair lin of the monarch. Tagan an árán seo ó Ryan O'Gonach I gúnde Fort Larige, agus fuairme ó náránaí úntach ánaí Kelly. This next song is called Éire, and it's an ashling or a political vision song, and in it a young woman appears to the poet in a dream, and she tells him how she and her family, her countrymen, have suffered at the hands of the oppressor, but how they will fight to gain their freedom from England. So Éire. Is me go ignach lier mola beim hundam smuin verne kroavarte vem horum vim hor nor a hanig on riven osal slem heif gar hink she so slum bo vingeljom a donta nach aris rief de kjol. She koshinda sim roigim sa kaumin an lying snob. Vi go beinles Moylan sa grua marn rosi sa coolin grochom roch a schille legosar. Isris henjen rivan gaid nu gifi nu an balleport na mioch shi nu an banni hittimron. Godanig sin daimpa choden noch so sonihe kan eine bioda kein joch nach ishir schille dior. Anto pales no anto venus vi posteg volken belgeef. Anto ariadne no dait og annekja. Anto Juno no verhellen og Boris gjaun on gregle. Tanim shennish på veinjom no ka will doch no. Manim shennish mas mein late jange kliste heiling. Gorban har larigen me gan ein stokna stor. Nisko will moch launda kese klan gaul fekers macht. Kosti kruer an meires gan ein tacht no kor. Beg schiedon so der hevchnik san romia kobleske kornvarle kille sun on the jazzigor. Beg cornel walles traillag gan brina Nege, nege body gan ail som neig gan ein kar fod. Ha for si mor I laundring na tacht den aldar non si nach der mar derne hoeder ni ai roig shello mar haskat the der vointe on a ring so telegrumpo Fyrva happy glofer nach njul tochten lo. Nökor fire gleivle dorakt, no shall squealoch fuhe. Is gakta willet nullo, so grace sport. Begon Duke of York's shrewdly go trecht the tirsche torsche. She Betty yin on voskelt weg dobbelte fevron. So my next song is Down Erin's Lovely Lee, and I got this from a great book edited by the late Tommaso Canning, Songs of Cork. and he collected this from Lena Banny Hay, who was a great traditional singer from Cork City. So Don Aaron's Lovely Lee. On March the 6th in 63 we sailed from Queenstown Quay. A gallant band of Fenian men bound for America. In travelling with this gallant band, as you may plainly see, we were forced to go from sweet Laro down Erin's lovely lea. For 6 long weeks we ploughed the sea from Queenstown Quay in Cork. Just like an arrow through the sky, we landed in New York. The Yankee boys with stars and stripes came flocking round to see this gallant band of Fenian men from Erin's lovely lea. Then one of them stepped up to me and asked me, did I know Tate Fords at Inniscarra or Dan Healy's at Larrow? Or could I tell where Crowley fell his native land to free? Or the tower that Captain Mackey sacked down Erin's lovely lea? He also asked me, did I know where Wolftone's body lay? Or could I tell the resting place of Emmet's sacred clay? And what about O'Dwyer, that Wicklow mountain line, or the 3 Manchester martyrs, Alan, Larkin and O'Brien? Yes, I can tell where Crowley fell. 'Twas in Kilclooney Wood. The tower that Captain Mackey sacked, 'twas by his side I stood. He gave the word, we raised our swords, which made the tyrant frown, and we raised the green flag o'er our heads, the harp without the crown. When I was leaving Ireland, we passed through sweet Kildare. If I am not mistaken, Wolftown lies buried there. And coming round by Dublin town, we passed Glasnevin too, where lies young Robert Emmet, a patriot loyal and true. So now I'm tired of roving, the seas I will cross o'er. to feel the clasp of honest hands when I return once more. When I'll go home to sweet Laura, all the boys will welcome me, and we'll help to float a Fenian boat down Erin's lovely lea.
Good to meet you, Eibhlís. That was absolutely gorgeous. Our next guest, we're back to the Dubs, is from Dublin, Macdara Yeates. Macdara, or Dara as he's more familiarly known, is a vocalist, composer and curator working in contemporary traditional Irish music. He has toured on 4 continents, both as a solo artist and with the folk ensemble Skipper's Alley. He has composed and performed with theatre companies, Theatre Club and Mouth on Fire, and has produced work with St Patrick's Festival, the Dublin Port Company, Aiken Promotions and more. He was one of our bursary students in 2018 and he impressed us so much that we felt we had to have him as one of our guests this year. So please, can you give a great welcome to Macdara Yeates.
Hello all, delighted to be here. I suppose like most people around here, Frank Harte is one of my heroes, my idols, one of the biggest inspirations for my singing, for the reason I sing at all. And there's very good reasons for that. I suppose for any young Dublin singer approaching the Dublin song tradition, you'll find a very large shadow cast by the likes of Luke Kelly and Ronnie Drew, and for a very good reason. But when trying to dig a little deeper and dig into those unaccompanied songs, the old songs, the songs of Napoleon, murder ballads and all that, you might find yourself a little bit wanting. That is, of course, until you find your first Frank Harte record. Come, listen to me story. 'Tis about a nice young man. When the militia was in wanting, he dealt in hawk in twang, and he loved a lovely maiden as fair as any midge, and he kept the treacle Billy Depot one side of the Carlisle Bridge. Well, another man came a-courting her, and his name was Mickey Bags. He was a commercial traveller, and he dealt in bones and rags. Well, he took her out to Sandy Mount for to see the waters round, and he won the heart of the twangman's mutt, playing Billy in the bow. Well, when the twangman heard of this, he flew into a terrible rage, and he swore by the contents of his twang cart on him he'd have revenge. So he lay in wait near to James's gate, and when poor old Bags came up with his twang knife, sure he took the life of the poor old gather 'em up. Well, now yous have heard me story, and I hope yes'll be good men, and not go chasing the twangman's mutt or any other old hen, for she'll leave you without a brass farden, not even your own sack of rags, and you'll end up in the gutter there like poor old Mickey Bags. The Twangman. That song and many of Frank's songs led me down a particular rabbit hole of Dublin history to learn about the aforementioned Billy in the Bowl, a paraplegic, a man born with no legs, who traipsed around the streets of Dublin in a large copper bowl, pulling himself just with his upper arms around the streets. Later, through some destitution, he resorted to robbing people with his big muscular arms, and eventually murdering people and become known as the Stony Butter Strangler. The idea of being put in a bowl if you've no legs was one that I thought was pretty unique to Billy in the Bowl, but learning Frank's version of this next song, I realised something that might have been done a bit in those days. While on the road to sweet Athy, hurroo, hurroo. While on the road to sweet Athy, hurroo. While on the road to sweet Athy, a stick in me hand and a drop in me eye, a doleful damsel I heard cry, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. Their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. And with their guns and drums and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Well, you haven't an arm, you haven't a leg, hurroo, hurroo. You haven't an arm, you haven't a leg, hurroo. No, you haven't an arm, you haven't a leg. You're an armless, legless, chickenless egg. You'll have to be put in a bowl to beg, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. Their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. And with their guns and drums and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Where are the eyes with which you smiled, hurroo, hurroo? And where are the eyes with which you smiled, hurroo? And where are the eyes with which you smiled when my poor heart you first beguiled? Why did you skedaddle on me and the child? Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. Their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. And with their guns and drums and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. And where are the legs with which you ran, hurroo, hurroo? Where are the legs with which you ran, hurroo? Where are the legs with which you ran when first you went to follow the gun? Indeed, your dancing days are done, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. Their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. And with their guns and drums and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Well, they're rolling out the guns again, hurroo, hurroo. They're rolling out the guns again, hurroo. Aye, they're rolling out the guns again, but they'll never take our sons again. No, they'll never take our sons again. Johnny, I'm swearing to ya. With their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo, hurroo. Their guns and drums and drums and guns, hurroo. And with their guns and drums and drums and guns, the enemy nearly slew ya. Darling dear, you look so queer. Johnny, I hardly knew ya. While on the road to sweet Athy, hurroo, hurroo. While on the road to sweet Athy, hurroo. While on the road to sweet Athy, a stick in me hand and a drop in me eye, a doleful damsel I heard cry. Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Before I finish up, there's a few people I should thank. Everyone at the Goaling Committee, Jerry O'Reilly, Maureen Cronin, Frank Nugent, Anthony Farrakhan, all the rest. But in particular, Fergus Russell. In early 2016, Fergus sent me a message asking if I'd be interested in singing at the Frank Harte Festival. And I said, yes, absolutely, sign me up. A few weeks later, I was offered a pretty big tour in the United States with a band I was playing with at the time. And I had to, unfortunately, send Fergus the message that I wouldn't be able to make it. I'd have gladly flown home for one night to do it, but it just wasn't feasible. Sometime around the same time, the following year in 2017, Fergus texted me again, asking if I'd be interested in performing at that year's Frank Harte Festival, to which I said, yes, please. Again, another tour with the same band came up through the same period, and I couldn't turn it down. In 2018, the third year, I had left the band that I'd been playing with, and I got a text from Fergus asking if this band would be interested in playing, so I passed the message on to them and said, hey, Fergus wants you guys to play. Fergus booked the band and approached me a few weeks later and said, Darryl, have you left the band? And I said, yeah. Did they not tell you that? I said, no, they didn't. I was actually hoping to get you because you were playing with the band. And I was like, oh, right, yeah, sorry about that. Then in 2019, it seems Fergus just gave up for a year at least. He left the field fallow, if you like, hoping for a better result the following year. And in 2020, he asked me again if I'd be interested in singing at the Frank Harte Festival. And then COVID happened, and you might think I caused this whole thing to get out of singing at the Frank Harte Festival. That is serious persistence, and it speaks to the character, not only of Fergus, but of the Goaling in general. They are people who are loyal, people who care about singing and about songs. I can't thank them enough. They have been the most supporting people to me, to other young singers in Dublin. And, you go in there any Friday night of the year and you just get a community. Instant friendship when anyone walks through the door. No scoffing at anybody, no standard set. Huge thanks to the Goaling and the Frank Harte Festival. If we were in the Teachers Club now, I'd be standing under a giant banner with the quote, "Those in power write the history, and those who suffer write the songs." I never met Frank Harte, but from what I've read, this might be the most political thing, at least the most overtly political thing he ever said or committed to paper. And that's not to say Frank wasn't political and that there wasn't some politics to find within his writings and within his music, but generally speaking, when it came to issues of politics, it seems to me that Frank let the songs speak for themselves. Well, here I am from Donegal. I feel quite discontented, for to see the way that we're run down, not fairly represented. For it seems it is a general rule to make out Pat and knave or fool. But never mind, we'll play it cool and stand up for old Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. Now Mr. Punch with his literature, he tries to hurt us badly, for when he draws our caricature, he depicts us rather sadly. With crooked limbs and villainous face, he thus depicts the Irish race. I say it is a sad disgrace, and they think so back in Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. And when on a stage I do appear, with me thundering big shillelagh, with me ragged coat and tattered hat, you'd think I'd step out gaily. With not a word of common sense, they care not when they cause offence, but carry on at Pat's expense. Let them try that back in Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. They say we're lazy and dirty got, but what's the use to grumble? For whenever they enter an Irish cot, they're welcome though 'tis humble. And in public works the country round, and where hard work is to be found, in a railway tunnel underground, you'll find the boys from Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. It's very true, I like a glass, it makes me feel quite frisky, and I'm also fond of an Irish lass, and I'm partial to the whiskey. I'm very quiet when left alone, I do what's mine with what's my own, but woe be to the foes of home who dare to run down Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. But that was long ago now, Pat, and we Gaels have not done badly, for that ragged coat and tattered hat has climbed the hallowed steps to royalty. But now a crowd that comes from across the foam in search of work and a better home are called lazy, dirty, and good for none. It's as though they sailed from Ireland. Do them justice, treat them fair, and they'll not be discontented, and they'll not be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. Do them justice.
Thanks very much, Macdara. Lovely, lovely singing. It's great to see the young people coming along. We had doubts years ago that this singing, this unaccompanied singing was going to take off, but no, it's going stronger than ever. I must pay tribute here to the people at the night before Larry got stretched. They do fantastic work, because us oldies are going to be gone soon and they'll be there in the future. Not too soon, though. Our final guest tonight is someone who has cited Frank Harte as one of her major influences. Karan Casey has long been one of the most innovative, provocative and imitated voices in Irish traditional and folk music. Her career has spanned 25 years, from her early days as a jazz performer in George's Bistro in Dublin to her heady days in New York with the band Solace, and her now established solo career. She has sold over 500,000 albums. In 2017, Karan was Traditional Artist in Residence at University College Cork, toured the UK with Transatlantic Sessions, performed at Glasgow's Celtic Connections, and toured in the US both with her own band and with Lunacy, including a performance at New York's Carnegie Hall. I'm just exhausted listening to that. In 2018, Karan helped to found Fair Play, which is an organisation aimed at achieving fairness and gender balance for female performers in Irish traditional and folk musics. Singing to us from her kitchen in Cork, can you please give a tremendous welcome to Karen Casey?
Well, hello, how are you all going? My name is Karen Casey. I'm singing to you from our kitchen in Cork, and I kind of hope you don't see this video. I hope that we actually get up to Dublin to see everyone. And thank you to the Goleen Singers Club for asking me along, and also particularly to Jerry O'Reilly for all the work that he does. Okay, so we're going to start out with a song that I got from Frank, of course. And it's a beautiful song, a Scottish song written by Ian Sinclair called The King Shilling. It's an anti-war song, and I love it, and it never gets old. And of course, thank you, Frank. Okay. Oh, my love has left me with Baron's toil, and that's the last of him I ever saw. He joined the army and marched to war. He took the shilling, and is off to war. Come, laddies, come, hear the cannons roar. Take the king's shilling, and you're off to war. Well did he look as he marched along, with his kilt and sporran and his musket gun, and the ladies tipped him as he marched along. He sailed out by the Broommail. Well, the pipes did play as he marched along, and the soldiers sang out a battle song. March on, cried the captain gay, for king and country, we will fight today. Come, laddies, come, hear the cannons roar. Take the king's shilling, and you're off to war. Well, the battle rattled to the sound of guns, and the bayonets flashed in the morning sun. The drums did beat and the cannons roared, and the shilling didn't seem much worth the war. Well, the men they fought and the men did fall, cut down by bayonet and musket ball. And many of these brave young men would never fight for the king again. Come, laddies, come, hear the cannon roar. Take the king's shilling, and you'll die in war. Come, laddies, come, hear the cannon roar. Take the king's shilling, and you'll die in war. Okay, thank you. It has to be said, it is a bit weird singing here in your kitchen to yourself. I am actually used to that. I do that a lot, talk to myself in the kitchen, most places actually. But anyway, so I think I'll do a Cork song West Cork specifically, the Dandling song from the singing of Bess Cronin, who I love more and more as I listen to her. Okay, and many of you know it, so if it's not too weird, sing along. Okay. Hopsy on a vrager for the varbas, only vor the choik she susan trot. Hopsy on a vrager for the varbas, only vor in echar choik she susan trot. Cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, portingyan a tia the sin him Philippicio. He didn't dance today. He didn't dance no nor yesterday. He didn't dance today. He didn't dance, he won't till after tay. Cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, portingyan a tia the sin him Philippicio. Throw him over, throw him over, say, throw him over, and he'll be here for tay. Throw him over, throw him over, say, throw him over, and he'll be here for tay. Cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, portingyan a tia the sin him Philippicio. Throw him up, throw him up high, throw him up, and he'll come down bye-bye. Throw him up, throw him up high, throw him up, he'll come down bye-bye. Cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, cookin' aldi, cookin' aldi, oh, portingyan a tia the sin him Philippicio. Right, well, I was going to do a song called Down in the Glen, which I wrote for the 1916 commemoration, and I wanted to honour the women of the time, so I imagined Julia Grennan, who was the nurse who stayed in the GPO with Padraig Pearse, thinking about the love of her life, Elizabeth O'Farrell, who went out... no, that's wrong. The wrong way around. This is a song called Down in the Glen, which I wrote for the commemoration for 1916, and in it I'm honouring two women, Julia Grennan, who stayed in the GPO with James Connolly, and this is kind of imagining what Julia would have thought as Elizabeth O'Farrell, the love of her life, went out to surrender with Padraig Pearse. And it's also, of course, honouring the women and their part in the rebellion. Okay, it's called Down in the Glen. I will meet you down in the glen, my love, deep down in the glen, my love. The sunlight, it will fall down at your feet when we meet, my love. And I sing a rebel song for you, all the rebel songs for you. I'll sing them loud, I'll sing them proud, sing them long and sing them strong, all night long, my love. I know you will appear as the evening shadows fade. Down in the west, my love, I know you'll take my hand, and to my lips you press the kiss I love the best in all the land. And I sing a rebel song for you, all the rebel songs for you. I'll sing them loud, I'll sing them proud, sing them long and sing them strong, all night long, my love. I know you must away before the end of day. For your rebel heart you must depart. I'll put all the stars out there for to dress your lovely hair. The moon will be the host of the air, and I'll sing a rebel song for you, all the rebel songs for you. I'll sing them loud, I'll sing them proud, I'll sing them long and I'll sing them strong, all night long, till all the women are free, just like you and me, my love. They're like a pin in your hair, the dark sings softly to the moon. Okay, well, I'm going to finish up with another Cork song that I got from the gallant Jimmy Crowley, and I think he found all the words with another man called Pat Daly, and it's a little ditty called Doll in Cash's Window. And again, thank you very much to everyone involved in the Goleen Singers Club and Jerry O'Reilly, and thank you for asking me to sing, and of course all praise to the gallant Frank Harte as well. Okay. I'll take Johnny walking, I'll take him up the dike. I'll take Johnny walking and I'll dress him in blue and white. He was the doll with a dee-doll dare, oh he was the boy with the curly hair. He was the doll in Cash's window, lo but I am my Gianni. Your daddy, he's a sailor, you're the apple of his eye. So a suit like daddy's, as blue as the summer sky. He was the doll with the tea-doll dare, oh he was the boy with the curly hair. He was the doll in Cash's window, lo but I am my Gianni. I met with Kitty Maloney in the Corker yesterday. She said you were me dazzle with eyes like Hadji Bay. And he was the doll with the dee-doll dare, oh he was the boy with the curly hair. He was the doll in Cash's window, lo but I am my Gianni. Hops and order Gianni, leis Suskadeel ring. Glor she calling Gyobalak, agus tear she thou Soleil. He was the doll with the dee-doll dare, oh he was the boy with the curly hair, oh he was a doll in Cash's window. No bad eye my Giannine. When your dad comes home from sailing, he'll bring you a ferry, a ship rigged in a bottle, just for his own Johnny. He was the doll with the dee-doll-dero, he was the boy with the curly hair. He was the doll in Cash's window, no bad eye my Giannine. Thank you.
Fantastic singing from Karan. I really enjoyed that set. Well, that's it for the 2020 Frank Harte Festival concert. We hope you've enjoyed it wherever in the world you've been watching it. We normally finish with a song, and this year will be no exception. This is one that has become a firm favourite with Mongolian over the years. It's Sean Moan's wonderful song, Lovers and Friends. Wherever you are, please join in the chorus, and we look forward to 2021 and some semblance of normality. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we have the Singing and Walking Tour being premiered at 11 o'clock on YouTube and on Facebook. So here's now Sean Moan's lovely song, Lovers and Friends. Battles and wars leave deep wounds and scars, and deep wounds are long in the mending. While reflecting upon all that is gone, life rushes on to its ending. Though joy and pain in our memory remain, and in memories lifetimes are measured, but the times that we spend amongst lovers and friends are times we remember with pleasure. So fill up your glass, that future and past in harmony be determined. For there's more friendship poured out in one bottle of stout than you'll find in statute or sermon. I've heard all the old songs, all the rights and the wrongs, heard prophets of doom and destruction, street corner messiahs, moral pariahs, dealers in bribes and corruption, from the holy and wise denials and lies, when innocent youth was forsaken. And I've watched the night end amongst lovers and friends, been sorry to see the dawn breaking. So fill up your glass, that future and past in harmony be determined. For there's more friendship poured out in one bottle of stout than you'll find in statute or sermon. There are those who are certain that drinking and courting are the sure ways to hell and damnation. Well, if that is to be, it would seem unto me their God has no sense of occasion to help his great plan, both woman and man, bring forth each new generation. And a wee drop of stout and the odd bit of health can greatly assist procreation. So fill up your glass, throw your arms round your lass, in harmony be determined. For there's more friendship poured out in one bottle of stout than you'll find in statute or sermon. To the brashest, the proudest, to those who shout loudest, it would seem that power has been given to berate us, deride us, separate and divide us, in hope of their version of heaven. For mountains and rivers will by far outlive us, and when our bones unto dust they have withered, there'll be lovers and friends who will still comprehend the true reason we're all here together. So fill up your glass, that future and past in harmony be determined. For there's more friendship poured out in one bottle of stout than you'll find in statute or sermon. EYU, good night.
2018, 16, 14, 12, and 8, 6, 4, 2, none. She had 19, 17, 15, 13, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1.